Hello, hello. What's up, everybody? Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining. Good to see you all. Well, as I said, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Chris Guillebeau. I am the host of this interactive conversation. If you are joining for the first time, welcome. We're going to talk about finding opportunity in a time of uncertainty. I want to say hello to all of our regulars. We have lots of people that are joining here on YouTube and then also on Facebook and Periscope as well. I hope you all have been well since we were last together last week. I know we also have people that are watching on the replay later. So if you're not watching live, that's cool. But if you are watching live, this is an interactive conversation. So we're going to talk today about, the broad topic, as I said, opportunity in a time of uncertainty. But I want to look specifically today at how do you decide what to do next? Like, how do you answer that question, what's next? And this is both a big picture kind of question, like what do I do next with my life? What's the next big project, et cetera? And then also like on any given day, how do I decide, what to do? Like, how do I decide what to do next? I finished one thing. I've got a long list of stuff. What do I do? So I asked about this on Twitter the other day. I got lots of responses. I printed some of them out here. So I will share some of those with you. I have an audio question from a listener to the podcast. I host this podcast called Side Hustle School. I've been doing it every day for 1,300 days. And I got a new question from somebody the other day, which I'm going to play here. And let's see, what else? Oh, we've got a question of the day. We're going to talk about fear a little bit. And who knows, maybe something else. So I'm glad that you are here. As I said, interactive conversation. The best part of this experience really isn't just like when I'm presenting here, kind of one-to-many, but it is everybody else in this community. So feel free to use the chat. I will come back and refer to it time to time and, every now and then. Was I going to say time and time again? I'm not sure. Throughout the conversation. But if I miss your comment, I'm not ignoring you. I just have a few different things happening here. So I always go back at the end of the session and just kind of read through things, and it informs what we do next. Speaking of what to do next. So I started this back in April when I was going to do a big tour for The Money Tree. This is my new book, which is kind of how it all started. And I wasn't able to do the tour because, well, you know why, right? Because nothing happened in April or May or June in terms of events. And it's been really fun to talk to people like all over the world. So I'm just looking here on Facebook. Stephanie, it's her first time here. Welcome. That's awesome. Love and Treasure, watching on Periscope. That's very cool. The Master Gaster, always good to see you. And Christine Taylor, Delph from sunny LA. We got Rachel from Cleveland. I think we had, let's see, my comments kind of stop here a little bit, but I saw some folks who were on earlier, including Mary Jo, who was an hour early, but I appreciate that enthusiasm. Better an hour early than an hour late, right? Let's see here. Oh, Jennifer received her copy of The Money Tree. Awesome. And hello from steamy upstate New York. All right. Hope you stay cool today. This is a fun story. Dean says, I heard about Chris originally when he was on Coast to Coast AM. Do you know how long ago that was? Dean, that was 10 years ago, I think. And I went on my first tour for another book called The Art of Nonconformity. And Coast to Coast asked me to be on the show. And it's in the middle of the night, for anybody who doesn't know. So Coast to Coast is this 3-hour radio show that runs in the United States, maybe elsewhere, but it plays in the middle of the night. So there's like truckers and people who are working third shift and anybody who's just awake in the middle of the night listening to this program. I'd never heard of it before, but they asked me to go on it. And I was like, sure, okay. So I stayed up in the middle of the night and I heard from so many people on that tour who were like, I heard from you on Coast to Coast. And now 10 years later, apparently we're still, hanging out. So, if you get an opportunity to do something and it sounds kind of weird and you're like, well, it's in the middle of the night or otherwise inconvenient to you, you never know what's going to happen with that. That's partly why I did that first tour. Also, I went to all 50 states and every province in Canada as well, because, relationships can last for a long time. Okay, so lots of other comments there. I'll try to get to as many as possible. But let's do a question of the day. Actually, wait, first, there might be some announcements. Are there announcements? Let's see here. So on Thursday, every other Thursday, my head's in the way. Every other Thursday, we've been doing these meetings on Zoom. And these meetings are about this concept called the third way, which I wrote about in the book. It's all about how to create a money-making project without quitting your job, by using the skills you already have, and without spending a lot of money. Okay, and a lot of my work is about self-reliance. A lot of it is about financial security, in a time of uncertainty in particular. But whether it's a time of COVID-19 or not, all kinds of stuff is happening. So you need to do that. Anyway, so that meeting is coming up on Thursday. It's free, just about everything I do is either free or low cost. I think I have a slide that tells you where to go. Oh yeah, there it is. Let's see, move that out of the way. You can sign up there, aonc.co/thirdway1. And now the question of the day. All right, so question of the day. What big fear were you able to overcome? All right, so thinking about something that you've been able to overcome, if you've been afraid of something like we all are, and you've been able to work through that. What is that big fear? And then maybe a bonus, how did you do it? Like what big fear were you able to overcome? And then in a sentence, a short sentence, how were you able to overcome it? Let me know your answer. I will come back in a few moments and read some of those answers. And I will also pick somebody and send them a free copy of the book. Let's see what's up here. I'm just taking a quick little look. Awesome. A couple other fans of Coast to Coast. Yeah, I miss it. Delph asked me, what keeps you motivated to keep these shows and calls going? Delph has the best avatar, by the way, also. What keeps me motivated? Honestly, I think it's other people who show up, like you and everybody who's watching, and it kind of keeps it lively. I feel like I call it an interactive conversation. I started using that phrasing recently because that's what it is. So it's just interesting to see what's on people's minds and how they process information as well. And maybe the other thing is I really like to hear when something that I've done has been effective in some way, or, somebody has applied, the work, whether it's from the Money Tree or another of my books or the podcast or something else. I think when I hear that people are actually seeing results from it, and of course they're the ones doing the work, let's acknowledge that, that's very motivating to me. So it's fun to just kind of have that piece of the interaction. So I've got a lot of stuff here, all these papers, because there's so much going on today. Okay, so first of all, we were talking about fears. Let's see here. But there are a lot of people watching now. Wow, okay. More than 1,000 people on YouTube. That's awesome. Sorry I can't get to all those comments, but we're going to do what we can. So Love and Treasure, what's my favorite city, town, or province in Canada? I like a lot of different parts of Canada. I really like Canada. I miss going there. So hopefully I'll get a chance to at some point. My favorite, I don't know. I tend to think British Columbia, Vancouver area, just because I'm more of a West Coast person in general. But I've always had really good experiences in Toronto and Montreal and everywhere else as well. St. John's. Okay, so let's look at fears here. Fear that people, Sharon said, fear that people wouldn't like me. Overcame it by realizing there are some who don't like me now. So why not put myself out there? There's a lot of people who probably will like you, Sharon. So I'm glad you've been able to overcome that. Do it scared, someone says. We're talking today for everybody who's just joining in about what fear have you been able to overcome and how are you able to do it? Philippa says, I've overcome anxiety and managed to apply and be accepted to go back to college to retrain. Yay, good for you. Deep end of the pool, learn to swim. Eric, what's up, says, most of the fears I've overcome by remembering a quote, action cures fear. Don't remember the origin. Yes, action is the way to go. And hey, here's Sandy. Congratulations. I recently got past my fear and left my part-time job. Some planning did go into it, but it was still a change, one that needed to happen. Congratulations. Good for you. And Christine, my longtime friend, a lot of them, but as a shy introvert, me too, I overcame my fear of talking to people. I found that social media helped a lot at first. Chatting that way gave me a script. Yes, we have that in common. So for me, this is kind of a boring basic fear because everybody's like, your number one fear is public speaking, but I really was afraid of public speaking for a very long time. Also, pretty shy introvert. And the way that I kind of overcame it was mostly by doing it, mostly by once I started writing and sharing, I was like, oh, I feel like I have something to share. And there's some really cool people out there. I just have to kind of get some experience with it. And something I read early on in the process that affected a lot of things for me. I think it was by Scott Birkin. He had a book called Confessions of a Public Speaker, and there was something in that book. I'm going to paraphrase it. It was about how understanding that, most people actually, if you go to hear a talk or whatever, most people want the speaker to succeed. Like, they're there because they're interested. And that was a weird little paradigm shift for me, because I guess when you're afraid of speaking, you always think that the audience is hostile. You always think people are judging you or they don't like what you have to say. But, maybe that's true if you're a politician or something. But if you're, most of the time, for those of us that are speaking to groups, even like now, those who are participating in the chat, it's other supportive people. And then also just kind of doing it over and over, as I said, that helped a lot. Andrew made a career change, left the company. I started to become a software engineer. Good work, man. It's good. I have issue with heights. Each time we go to Mexico, we go to a pyramid to climb. Those are really scary, but I do it anyway. So what you're kind of seeing here is a theme of exposure therapy, which I'm a big fan of. And this can be true of a lot of stuff in life. If you're anxious about something or you're worried about something, it's just like, we tend to defer it or avoid it. But if you can actually like bring it into your life, it often ends up giving you more confidence. So it takes away the fear and gives you confidence. All right, we're going to move on in just a moment, but I am getting some more good comments here. Brooke had a tax business and partner was stealing from me. Wow. Had to get rid of him. Very scary. I got a lawyer and my father to accompany me, telling him he was done. Wow. That does sound very scary. Good for you. I'm glad you were able to move past that. Rachel mentions her farmer's market, had a fear around her first farmer's market, had never been a vendor before, wasn't sure what to expect, but she signed up and went. That's great. Well, for anybody out there, we're going to move on here, but if there's something that you are afraid of, maybe take some courage, not from me, but from all these people that are posting their stories of like, I was able to do it. And often what you find is that what's waiting for you on the other side is, a lot better than whatever that fear was, and whatever you were worried about, maybe actually didn't come to pass. Hey, Graham, what's up? Graham is here in the process of overcoming my fear by getting out there, making videos. This is huge. Good for you. It's awesome, man. And then Kayla here, fear that I'll never be able to find something I'm passionate about. And if I do, I might ruin it once I depend on it on my income. Wow, there's a whole lot we could say about that, Kayla. There's like a siren that's happening outside my apartment here. I don't know if you can hear it, but hopefully they're not coming for me. All right. So who was it a second ago? Brooke. Oh, actually, I feel like we should give this to Brooke. Brooke, I don't know if you have won the book before. Have I given you the book before? If not, I'm going to send you a copy of the book. And if you have a copy already, that's awesome. You can give this one to somebody else. So can you send an email to jed@sidehustleschool.com, JEDD@sidehustleschool.com. Tell him you won, and he will sort it out from there. And thanks everybody else for all your other comments. Very cool. So let's talk about how do you decide what to do next? And maybe as a framing for it, I actually have an audio question. This is somebody who's actually wondering about a specific business idea. Okay, so he's got a specific business idea about learning, which we talked about over the past couple of weeks. And that's going to hopefully lead into what we're doing next. Let me see if this will work. This is an audio question from Dave, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see here.
Hi, Chris. This is Dave from Orlando, and I've been listening to the show since the beginning, and I've really been enjoying the new format. I'd like to help people learn, but not learn any specific topic like coding or drawing or whatever, but to improve their skill of learning itself. If you can learn at a faster rate or just more effectively, you'll ultimately be able to learn a lot more. However, even though the benefit seems clear and valuable, I'm not sure how to translate this benefit into a specific product. Should it be some kind of course or maybe a book or something else? Thanks, and keep up the great work.
All right. As you heard, that was from Dave. By the way, I forgot to say this earlier. If you do me a huge favor, because there's a lot of people that are watching, do me a huge favor and hit the thumbs up button. And that would just be great. It shows YouTube that people actually care about all this. So hit the thumbs up button. If you're watching on Facebook, there's also like a like button. And then you can subscribe as well and click the little bell to get notifications. I do this every week, every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. And of course, you can watch the replay, but when you're watching live, as you can see, we're doing a little bit of an interactive conversation. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate that a lot. So Dave is wondering about applied learning, basically. And so I want to look at this from like the business angle. So whenever you're in this situation of I have an idea and I'm not sure if anybody else has done anything about it, or I'm not sure how to go about doing it, I think it's very helpful to go and look and see, who is doing something with this, who is doing some kind of applied learning, this concept of helping people learn, not just learn a specific topic, but help them improve their learning. Like a friend of mine, Scott Young, wrote a book called Ultra Learning. There are lots of resources. There are lots of blogs and podcasts and probably lots of videos here on YouTube that help people learn. It doesn't mean there's not a space for Dave, but it's just like when you're trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? I think it's helpful to see what else is being done. Okay. And there's also apps. I'm sure there's products. I'm sure there's memberships. I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff. Now, I think that the challenge is, well, first of all, when you do that, you look and you see, okay, what do I like about this? What do I like about what's being done? And what's missing? What do I think is appealing? What do I think is, could be better or improved upon or just done differently? So you start with that. But as for the specific idea, I think it's not that it's impossible, but what Dave is trying to do is kind of like a higher level type of need. So yes, it's going to help people to learn better, but not everybody is like, I want that. Often what they think is like, I want to learn this specific topic. And so it's almost easier if you're into like, I don't know, whatever you're into. I'm not sure what topics have been mentioned already and stuff, but whatever if you're into gardening or something, it's much easier to teach people about gardening or the specific tool of gardening or like this one kind of thing than it is to kind of teach them this higher level concept, because higher level concepts are hard sometimes. So it just requires like, a deeper level of analysis, some really careful marketing copy, et cetera. So what I would say to Dave or anybody else is, like, if you're good at helping people learn, which is kind of where we started with that question, if you're good at helping people learn, why not teach them something that you know about? Why not start with that? And, if you really are like, committed to that concept of like, let's focus on the learning, then sure, you can do it. I just think it might be easier to like pick a specific topic than to just kind of do it broadly. But just my suggestion, as always, I just kind of throw stuff out and like, if the shoe fits, that's great. If not, do your own thing. Okay. So I thought that would be a good little segue for, how do you decide what to do next? And I would love to hear from people in the chat. How do you decide what project to work on next? How do you decide when one thing ends? Like, how do you decide what to choose or focus on? So it could be this big picture thing, or it could also be like, I finished writing the report that I needed to do. I finished that meeting. I have like 3 hours left in my workday, whatever that looks like for you. How do I decide what to do? Or maybe I have like 30 items on my to-do list. How do I they're not ordered necessarily. So how do I decide that? So it's an interesting thing because it's both strategic and tactical at the same time. And so I ask on Twitter, not Facebook, Twitter. And by the way, if you have comments, post them up. I will try to highlight some in a moment. Oh, I just see Randy. Oh, hey, Randy. Thanks for watching. You purchased the Ultra Learning book, but haven't started it yet. Scott's a good guy. He does good work. So definitely check it out. And then I see Marvin Joe right here as well. Choose an aspect of learning, how to improve memorization. That's a good example. I wish I had thought of that, but you thought of it, so I didn't need to. Thank you. Okay, more on that in a moment. So Jenny Foss, who is at JobJenny on Twitter, says, she asks, what do people need the most right now? How can I provide the most value to the most people? And number 3, what can I build that accomplishes 1 and 2 and maximizes revenue? So she's got a bit of a filter there, right? She's got a bit of a here's how I'm going to make these decisions. Oh, by the way, thanks. Ryan just sent me a super heart. That's very cool. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's a whole new world. I don't even know how that works, but I will learn. Thank you. Let's see. Brendan McAdams at Brendan McAdams says, when I'm excited by several potential projects, I consider what the hardest challenges may present, and I think about how I'm likely to deal with them. What will my enthusiasm be like? who can help me get through, how difficult, how similar to previous challenges. So it sounds like he has a filter as well, but his filter is a little bit focused on maybe personal growth or taking on a new challenge. So it's not just like what maximizes revenue, it's, what's going to push me further as well. Let's see here. Got another answer from someone I can't quite see who it is. Well, maybe I'll pick somebody else. Okay, Steve Brock, Meaningful Trav, says he does a prioritization grid, 4 quadrants. One axis is impact or achievement of your life goals from low to high. I'm like, access is like, there we go, access, there we go. And the other axis is ease of implementation, low to high. So you want to find the thing that is the easiest to do that has the highest impact. I like that. That's good. Let's see here. I'll read one or two more. Prue Pike said, so the question is, how do I decide what to do next? For anybody who's new or has just jumped on. She says, Prue Pike, sorry, I shouldn't say she, I'm not sure. Prue Pike says, I look forward to reading about this. So timely. 2020 is the year of change, be it forced or not. I've always done what I loved, which has served me well to date. 2020 is indeed the year of something. I don't even know what to call it. Did you have a word of the year? Like, did you at the beginning of the year, it's like, this is my word, or this is the theme of the year. And then like, April comes along and you're like, not sure how that's going to, apply unless your word was, I don't know, everything is different. Everything is turned upside down. Your word is quarantine. Who knows? Okay, let's see here. Someone mentioned a life list, like a bucket list or a list of things that you've always wanted to do, and that's what I kind of go to. Okay. And then Chris Bailey. Chris does good work as well. Chris Bailey says, I pick the thing that has the greatest pull on me. There's no logic. There's no accounting. I'm probably doing it wrong, but things are more fun this way. Isn't that a great answer? The thing that has the greatest pull on me. No logic, no accounting. I'm probably doing it wrong, but things are more fun this way. So if things are fun, how could they be wrong, right? If you're doing something that you're excited about, that's meaningful, and hopefully it's making a difference in other people's lives. I mean, that is like the goal, I think, The goal is to use this time well, whether it's the time on Earth or it's the time during the pandemic or the time today, like you're going to finish watching this today, whatever time it is in your part of the world. I think we have some people actually watching in Pakistan and elsewhere, and it's like the middle of the night. But whatever it is, you're going to finish watching this. What do you do next? Like, how do you decide that, and how will you use this time well? I mean, that's like the central question that I'm always trying to answer myself. And when I have these conversations, it's not just like me trying to impart something. I'm actually learning through the process as well. I want to, I always want to improve myself. So Vin, what's up? Oh, he's reading Getting Things Done. Yes, Getting Things Done by David Allen. It's a great book. Actually, back in the day, maybe 15 years ago, I remember reading that book and it helped me a lot. It's a book very much about productivity. And so I think what's helpful is to combine productivity with, I was going to say inspiration, but that's very like squishy. I mean, like, big goal setting and dreams, like what do you really want to do in life? Because the weakness of the productivity focus all the time is like, you can be really good at doing the wrong things. You can be very productive and like very efficient and never check email in the morning and never be late to a meeting, but then you realize you're doing the wrong things. So it's so helpful to be, but on the other hand, you can be like, I'm a big dreamer and I never get anything done. So you want to combine both approaches, I think. All right. Couple other comments here. I think I was saying something else, but then I got distracted because that was a good comment. Art, Money, Success. Oh, here's another book recommendation for the professional creatives. Art, Money, Success by Maria Brophy, helping me learn to ask daily questions that help me choose what to do next that day or month. That's great. Oh, look at this. Sarah's word for 2020 was change. She got it right. She nailed it. She called it. Oh, and Jennifer says, momentum is my word. It still applies. That's great. Good for you. Brooke also said her theme was do something different. So for me, I guess how do I answer that question and what do I do next? Because I like a lot of these answers that people have shared on Twitter and here. for me, I probably have some combination of those things. Like I do try to do what's fun and enjoyable, but I also have a bit of a plan. Like I have a bunch of stuff that I want to do. And so if I finish something, I'm like, what seems the most logical? Okay, this is like somebody mentioned, the thing that's the relative easiest, or at least, the least complicated, and it's going to have the most impact. And it's also going to challenge me because somebody in one of the very first answers, somebody was like, is this different than what I've done before? So like when I started doing this YouTube thing, I didn't know how to do it. And, I'm still like learning as I go, but I liked the challenge of it. Like I did 30 days in a row. I think some of you were watching them, which is pretty cool. And my idea was like, I'm just going to start and I will learn as I go along the way. And I actually the challenge is good for me. You never want to be complacent or kind of stuck. So there's the challenge element. There is the quadrant thing of like, what is the most, high impact, low effort. I think it's also good to think about like what's going on in your life now and what is your need now. Because if you're trying to make money, if you're like, man, I really need to make money right now, then that has to be a concern. It has to be a priority. And if your business is a little bit more established, then you might say, okay, well, of course I need to make money, but I'm not making this particular decision about this next project based solely on money, right? Because there might be something else I could do that's more profitable, but this is more interesting to me. Or this is going to have a longer term, return. I'm going to go on coast to coast radio, and 10 years later, somebody's going to be watching on YouTube and say, hey, I heard about you on coast to coast. And I'm going to think back and say, wow, I had to stay up in the middle of the night, like 2 hours, kind of wrecked my sleep schedule for the next day or whatever, but so worth it, right? Because here we are, all this time later. I wanted 2020 to spend more time working from home. Definitely worked out for me. That's great. That's great. Let me know if you have any other comments. We're going to wind down here in just a few moments. I'm trying to think what else. So we did the giveaway. This little checklist. We did the giveaway. We did the question of the day. Some really good responses there. Shared the audio question. We talked about fears. We talked about what will you do next. I had a couple websites to show you, but I will just save those and we'll do those next time. 3GXD, this is badass. Thanks, man. You're badass. Appreciate you. Sandy says she likes the book suggestions. Teresa Greenway, hey, what's up? I'm a big fan. Big fan of Teresa. I think we got to feature her in the 100 Side Hustles book. She's doing really great work. She says, be aware of what's going around you. Be aware of what's going on around you and look for a need. That's what she's done, and she's built a really incredible business. Thank you for watching. Yes. Landon, how did you build up the team around you for Side Hustle School to streamline the process? And thanks for featuring me recently. Awesome. Thanks for joining in. So for Side Hustle School, let's see. The team. So it's a pretty small team. I work with a few people pretty closely, but I don't have a big team because I don't want to be a manager. I'm not a good manager. That's not what I want to do. So I respect people who've actually been able to like build a bigger business and they have like, all these people, and that's great, but that's not for me. So with the podcast, we have a producer, and I work with this guy named Jed, my colleague, who does a lot of stuff. I call him my side hustle sidekick. And then for a lot of the like business stuff with it, like the advertiser relations and all the corporate things, I don't touch that at all. Like I have a partnership with a distributor, and they do all that stuff, right? And that's by design. And they actually helped me with the producer and like a few other things like that. So it's kind of like how I work with a publisher for my books. And they have people who do a lot of stuff that I don't want to do. Same kind of thing with the podcast. Oh, I see some other book recommendations. Judith says, Dream Big by Bob Goff. I know Bob's work. I haven't read that book, but Bob in general does good work. Oh, Jennifer says, The Challenge. Thank you for the reminder. All right. Corrine, hey, what's up? Good to see you. Massachusetts, right? Yes, sneak previews of some of the upcoming stories call-ins. It's as if you're part of the process. Oh, thank you. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, I started doing that because I was like, what should I share today? Oh, this is what I've been working on, that's coming out in a couple weeks. Maybe it'll be interesting to kind of workshop it here. So thank you for that. Yes, challenge. Okay. So I forget what the challenge is, but we're going to find out together. I think it's about, what are you going to do next? But let's see here. Yes, I guess the challenge, pretty simple, right? What will you do next? Considering these different answers, considering what your process is for making those decisions, how will you choose what your next project is? And I would love to know, maybe you can answer now if you want, but let's come back in a week and talk about what you decided to do next and what your next thing was and how you perhaps applied something, whether it's something that I said or more likely something that somebody else said in the chat, maybe I picked up on, or the call-in question, or the concept of overcoming your fears, which so many people talked about. And by the way, let's just say that fear is kind of universal. And whenever I end up talking about this topic, some people are surprised and they're like, I don't know, I feel like some people think that the goal is to be invincible or the goal is to be fearless. And I think that's always a mistake. Like nobody is really fearless, actually. The goal is to be able to do it anyway. Like I think a few people said, the goal is to be like, okay, I am afraid of this thing, but the alternative is to kind of remain stuck and to be afraid and to not actually make progress on that thing I really want to do. And so I'm so glad that people are able to do that. And so take courage if you're watching. Let's see, lots of other good comments and questions from people. Oh, Love and Treasure says, congratulations on working out with your Apple Watch for over a year. Yeah, I have this streak going. If you have an Apple Watch, you probably know how it works with, you have these move circles and you're supposed to get a certain number of exercise points. And I have a streak going of 500 days now. I think it's 504 days. I didn't plan to have a 500-day streak. I wanted to do it for a year, but then I just kept going. So that's another thing about streaks and habits is once you do them, it's harder to stop than it is to keep going. So if something is hard, maybe just try to find a way to do it, every day for a week or for a month. And then after a while, it's this is what I do. It's just like the podcast or anything else. Okay, so you guys are amazing. As I said, I'm doing this every week. I also have that Zoom meeting on Thursday. It's later in the day, which may be helpful for some people, especially if you're in Europe or elsewhere. This time isn't good for you. But every Tuesday morning, I'm here, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. 12 p.m. Eastern. What time is it? I have no idea. And then the thing that we are doing on Thursday, a reminder, you can sign up for that here. I always forget to turn that off. There we go. aonc.co/thirdway1. It's another meeting. We also have a Facebook group focused specifically on the money tree, on applying this concept of the third way. So you're welcome to join that. And otherwise, I'm around. I'm on social media. Feel free to connect. I think I might have a slide for that. Let's see. Do I have a slide for that? Connecting. Oh, yes. There I am. Feel free to say hi, let me know what you're up to, and I hope that you work on something this week that you can come back and say, hey, I decided to do this thing, and here's what's happening. If you have a challenge, if you have a struggle, that's okay too. Tell us about that. We will talk about it, and I hope that you will all have a wonderful week. Wherever you are in the world, or if you're watching this later, have a wonderful week. Do something for yourself. Take care of yourself out there. It's still a weird time. It's a hard time, I know, but we're all in it together one way or another. So thank you so much for joining, and I hope to see you again.